Hi there, welcome to this video where I'm going to show you how to create this Glassmorphism effect within your bubble app. So as you can see here, we've got a login form and the background is kind of like frosted glass, hence why it's called Glassmorphism, if I can pronounce that correctly, where you can kind of see through, but it's kind of opaque a little bit. It's quite a nice feature. Apple use it a lot and it's really nice to, up the class within your bubble app. So I'm going to show you in this very simple tutorial how you can add this to anywhere within your bubble app. You can have an image in the background or a video in the background, really anything you like. So let's get right into it. So here we are in the bubble editor, and all I've got in here at the moment is a very simple background. So I've applied a background to the actual page itself of this lovely image from Star Wars. And I've got a group which has just got some login details in there. So a login form. It doesn't actually work, but that's not important for now. It's just what it looks like. At the moment, I've got it just as a background color, as what we can see on the background of that login group. So let's get started. The first thing that we want to do is we want to go over to settings. We want to go to general and we want to scroll down. And let me move myself so you can see this. We want to scroll down right to the very bottom. You probably only just be able to see it. You want to make sure the last one is turned on. This is called expose the option to add an ID attribute to HTML elements. This needs to be ticked in order for this to work. So if that isn't already ticked, tick that. And then let's go back over to the bubble editor. And that's going to become clear why we need that in just a second. So next, we're going to add in an HTML element. I'm going to add that in and I'm going to put it at the top of the page. And what I'm going to do, just to stop it affecting the layout, is I'm going to go to layout. I'm going to change the width to 1, and I'm going to change the max height to 1 as well, and take away the min height. And you should see that the layout returns to what we wanted it to be before. This means we can't select it in the canvas section. We can only select it on the left hand side, but that's fine, that's not a problem. So when we're here, we now can insert the code. So I will put this code in the description of the video, and I've got it here. It's very, very simple bit of code. As is the case with a lot of Bubble, it's not actually no code. Well, it can be no code, but you're going to get the best out of Bubble using just a tiny little bit of code here and there, just to add a little bit of spice to your projects. So I'm going to copy and paste that into the group here. Sorry, into the HTML element here. And as you can see, it's very simple. All it does is it's CSS within HTML, which is just finding the element, which would be called login group, which is what we're going to do in just a second, and adding blur to it in 2 different cases, depending on which browser you're using. So what we've got here, and you can rename this to whatever you want, but it's really important. What we do is copy and paste this. So at the moment it's called login group. That's what I want to make, kind of like the glass panel. So whatever you want to make, that translucent glass panel thing, go into that element, then scroll down to the bottom on the appearance, find ID attribute, and paste in that exact same ID attribute as we did have in the code. It's got to be exactly the same, otherwise it will not work. Even spaces and capitalization as well, I believe. So if we now give it a load, what we will see is, in fact, we don't see any difference. Now that is because we've still got this background color on this group here. So if we go back over to the editor, go into login group, we see that we've still got this here. So let's take away this. Now we see it's translucent and doesn't look that great in the editor. But if we come over to Bubble, give that a reload on this page now, and we see that we've got this nice frosted look to this group. And that's it essentially. However, to make it look a little bit nicer, what I like to do whenever I'm using this, and especially with this image, and it does depend on the image or the video you've got in the background, what I like to do is to add in that background, but then make it only, let's say, 50%. Also makes it easier to see in the canvas. But when we go over to the demo page, let's reload that. We should see that now it's much kind of like clearer to see the information that's on there, especially if there's not a lot of contrast between the color that you're using here and in the background. You can still kind of see what's going on in the background, and of course you can play around with this and tweak this so that instead of 50%, it's maybe 40%. It's going to be a little bit more legible. And then also, let me show you. If we go to the HTML, we can change the blur. So this is kind of like the blur radius, so how blurred you want it to be. So if we make this just 1 pixel of blurredness, then I come back over. Now this is going to make it less translucent and also change the blur. So there we go. We can see that we can pretty much just see the image all the way through. Not entirely. In fact, if I go in and I just put in an X there, that's going to like break the link. And you'll see if I reload it, there's a very slight difference between the background image normally and what it is when it's got a blur applied to it. But regardless, let me take that out. Let me take this back out so it will work. Regardless, if it's 1, it's going to be really, really weak, essentially. But if we increase this to 100, I'm going to do that on both, then come back over. What we're going to see is it's going to be really strong. It's going to be pretty much just kind of like a white square. We can see it's kind of like mimicking the colors behind. So this bit's darker at the bottom where the image is darker, and this bit's lighter where the image is lighter at the top. But it's, we can't really see any detail. So 10 is pretty good for this one. I was having to play around with it earlier. I think 6 is quite nice, where you can still see some of the detail, but it gives it enough contrast for you to be able to see the details on the page as well. So there we go. That's quite nice. It gives us enough detail to where we can see that we're seeing the image through it, but it's not, really obvious. And we could do some more things, such as, you can add a border to it. You can change the translucency of this group again to make it, maybe you want this contrast to be a bit different. But that is how you add this Glassmorphism effect to your bubble application. You can add it to any group that you like. You can stack them on top of each other if you would like to. You can add an image, so you can add a video in the background so that it animates, and you can see it behind the panel moving, which is quite cool. But this is the very simple way that you create Glassmorphism in your bubble application. If you have any other questions, do leave them down below in the comments and I'll get back to you. If you like this video, then please, give it a like and subscribe for more of these videos, helping you with bubble tutorials, whether you are an absolute beginner or if you are someone that's a little bit more advanced. So that's it from this video. Hope you found it useful. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.